Oral, written, and performance evaluation. Oral assessment. Oral assessment is a direct means of assessing students' learning outcome by questioning them. Oral assessment is a dynamic and interactive method of evaluating students' learning outcome by asking them questions directly. This approach allows assessors to gauge not only the students' knowledge but also their ability to think critically, articulate ideas, and engage in spontaneous problem solving. Unlike structured interviews where questions are typically predetermined, oral assessment are more flexible. Assessors may adjust the questions based on the students' responses or the specific learning objectives they wish to measure at that moment. This can lead to a more authentic demonstration of understanding as students must adapt to various scenarios and express their comprehension in real time. Oral assessment are particularly valuable in disciplines that emphasize communication skills, critical thinking, and the application of knowledge, making them a useful tool in both formal and informal educational settings. However, they can be more subjective, and it is essential that assessors have clear criteria to ensure consistency and fairness in the evaluation. Types of oral assessment. Oral assessment after a direct observation assessment. Context. Usually done after a practical assessment or observation. Format. A debriefing session. Duration 3 to 5 minutes. Structure. Informal and not structured. An oral assessment often used as a part of a debriefing session after a practical has been observed. Time duration 3 to 5 minutes and no formal structure. Oral in the form of a viva voice. Context used in academic settings, often in universities. Format. Oral examination will with spoken questions and answers. Duration, no fixed time limit. It depends on the context. Structure, more formal, often focused on assessing knowledge or research. Viva voice is the Latin name for oral examination, often given for a university examination with spoken questions and answers. It has no set time limit. Oral in a language settings. Context. Language proficiency assessment. Format focuses on listening and speaking skills. Structure typically involves listening to prompts and responding orally. Test for assessing a student's level of speaking proficiency. It is a listening test. Structure of oral assessment. It depends upon the type of oral assessment. The structure of an oral assessment varies depending on the type of assessment, but there are some common elements across most formats. Below is a structure that can be applied to different types of oral assessments along with 3 types of questions and can guide the assessment. The examiner may briefly outline the purpose of the oral assessment. In some cases, the student is given the opportunity to start by presenting their analysis or understanding of a topic or practice. This spontaneous account can be very revealing of the student's depth of understanding. Type of question. Number 2, types of questions. Probing questions. These questions initiate the conversation and encourage the students to elaborate on their initial response. Example, can you explain how you approached this problem? Probing questions. Next, prompting questions. These questions provide subtle hints or cues to guide the students in the right direction if they are struggling or need clarification. Example, can you think of any alternative method that could work here? Challenging questions. These questions assess deeper understanding and critical thinking, pushing the student to justify their reasoning or consider more complex aspects of the topic. Example, why do you think this approach is more effective than other, and what are the potential drawbacks? Next, student response and discussion. After the student response, the examiner engage in a discussion to explore the student's understanding further. Feedback or clarification may be provided during the assessment. The oral assessment is typically wrapped up with a brief summary of students' performance, often highlighting key strengths or areas for improvement. So, depending on which type of oral questions, it is sometimes desirable to allow the students to start the oral assessment by giving an account of the analysis of the practice. The sophistication of his spontaneous account can reveal far more than simply his response to the questions. Advantages of oral assessment. There can be no plagiarism or false reports. Since responses are spontaneous and real time, it minimizes the chance of students copying answers or presenting work that isn't their own. Assessors receive immediate reactions and responses. Assessors can gauge a student's understanding instantly, allowing for follow-up questions, clarification, and the ability to explore deeper insights. It complements perfectly with practical assessments. Oral assessments work well alongside practical assessments, providing an opportunity to evaluate not only the practical skills but also the students' ability to explain and analyze the approach. Assessment of communication skills. It tests the students' ability to articulate thoughts clearly, which is especially important in professions requiring strong communication. Next, flexibility in questioning. Examiners can adapt their questions based on the students' responses, allowing for a more tailored and dynamic assessment. Next, measures depth of understanding. Oral assessments can reveal the students' deeper knowledge, reasoning skills, and ability to think on their feet, which written assessments might not capture as effectively. Next, encourages critical thinking. It requires students to explain and defend their answers, encouraging them to think critically and engage with the material in a more active manner. Next, non-verbal cues. The assessors can also observe non-verbal communication such as body language or confidence level, which may provide additional insights into the student's understanding. Disadvantages of oral assessment. It is time consuming. Oral assessment typically require more time than written assessments as they involve one-on-one interaction and personalized questions. Validity is high but reliability is not. While oral assessments may accurately assess a student's knowledge, high validity, the consistency of scoring between different assessors or across different sessions may vary, leading to lower reliability. There are rarely any clear guidelines about what is fair to judge at a viva. There is often ambiguity about what criteria should be judged during an oral assessment, especially in viva exams, which may lead to subjective grading. There may be present significant difficulties for students with certain impairments. Students with speech, hearing, or language impairments may face significant challenges in performing well, which could unfairly impact their scores unless proper accommodations are made. Notes or recordings are not documented clearly. Oral assessment may not be well documented as there is often no written record of the student's responses unless notes or recordings are made. This makes it difficult to review the assessment later or to provide detailed feedback. Next, subjectivity. The nature of oral assessments may lead to subjective judgments as different assessors may interpret students' responses and behavior differently. Performance anxiety. Next is performance anxiety. Some students may struggle with anxiety or nervousness during face-to-face assessments, which could negatively affect their performance, even if they understand the material well. Next, inconsistent questions. The flexibility in questioning, while beneficial in some ways, can also result in inconsistencies. Different students may be asked different questions, making it harder to compare performances fairly. Written assessment. It refers to an area of study that contains theories and practices that guide the evaluation of a writer's performance or potential through a writing task. Writing assessment refers to a process of evaluating a writer's performance skills or potential through a specific writing task. This evaluation can be grounded in both composition studies, which examines writing theory and practice, and measurement theory within educational assessment, which involves the systematic evaluation of skills and knowledge. Writing assessment can be considered as a combination of scholarship from composition studies and measurement theory within educational assessment. Composition studies, measurement theory. Writing assessment can also refer to the technologies and practices used to evaluate student writing and learning. Writing assessment can encompass various methods such as questions, multiple questions, or extensive prompts depending on the purpose of the assessment. It also involves technologies and technique used to assess student writing and learning, ranging from traditional rubrics to more modern tools like automated essay scoring. It can be one question, several questions, or many questions. Advantages of written assessment. Students are forced to demonstrate the extent of their knowledge. Students are required to showcase their understanding of the subject matter comprehensively. Articulation is part of the assessment. The ability to clearly express thoughts and ideas is an integral part of the evaluation. Students can explain their thinking. Students can elaborate on their reasoning and the process behind their answers. Less time need to create. Preparing written assessments often takes less time compared to creating other forms of assessment. Teachers can provide better feedback and answers. Teachers can provide more detailed and constructive feedback on students' answers, prompting learning and improvement. Performance evaluation. It is also known as alternative or authentic assessment. Performance evaluation, also known as alternative or authentic assessment, is a form of testing where students are required to perform a task or demonstrate skills rather than choosing an answer from a pre-made list. This type of assessment emphasizes real-world tasks and critical thinking, such as generating a scientific approach, solving a math problem, conducting experiments, or engaging in projects that mirror actual challenges in the respective field. By requiring students to apply their knowledge practically, performance evaluation provides a more comprehensive understanding of their abilities and fosters deeper learning. It is a form of testing that requires students to perform a task rather than selected an answer from a ready-made list. Example, generating scientific approach solve math problem, etc. Features of performance evaluation. Real world scenario. Tasks are designed to reflect real life challenges and situations that students may encounter in their field of study or future careers. Authentic complex process. The evaluation involves multi-step tasks that require critical thinking and problem solving, simulating the complexity of real-world process. High-order thinking. It prompts analysis, synthesis, and evaluation, encouraging students to use high-order cognitive skills. Authentic performance. Students demonstrate their abilities through hands-on tasks rather than merely selecting an answers from a list. Transparent evaluation criteria. Clear and detailed rubrics or guidelines are provided, ensuring that students understand how their performance will be assessed. Significance of performance evaluation. Personalized learning. Tailored to individual students' strength and weakness, allowing for a more personalized approach to education. Formative assessment. It serves as a tool to check ongoing process, helping both students and teachers identify areas for improvement during the learning process. Provides competency education. Focuses on students demonstrating specific competencies or skills rather than just memorizing facts. Leads to standards-based education. Helps align students' performance with clear standards, ensuring that learning outcomes meet established benchmark or criteria. Advantages of performance evaluation. Performance evaluation prompts students to use high-order thinking skills. Performance evaluation pushes students to engage in high-order thinking skills by analyzing, synthesizing, and evaluating information. Students develop a deeper understanding of the subject matter. Performance prompts self-assessment. Performance evaluation encourages students to reflect on their own work and progress. This self-assessment fosters a sense of ownership over their learning and helps them identify areas for improvement. Provides comprehensive feedback. These evaluations can offer detailed feedback on various aspects of a student's performance, including strength and weakness. This feedback is invaluable for guiding future learning and development. Enhances critical thinking. By challenging students to solve complex problems, performance evaluations enhance their critical thinking abilities. Students learn to approach issues from multiple angles and develop well-reasoned conclusions. Next, fosters collaboration and communication. Many performance evaluations involve group projects or presentations which prompt teamwork and improve communication skills. Students learn to articulate their ideas and work collaboratively towards common goals. Next, motivates engagement. When students know they will be evaluated on their performance, they may be more motivated to engage deeply with the material. This can lead to increased enthusiasm for learning and a more active participation in class. Aligns with real-world skills. Performance evaluation often reflect the skills and competencies needed in the workplace. By preparing students for real-world challenges, these evaluations help bridge the gap between academic learning and practical application. Facilitates differentiated instruction. Next is facilitates differentiated instruction. Performance evaluation can highlight the diverse learning needs and styles of students, allowing educators to tailor their teaching strategies accordingly. This ensures that all students can succeed at their own pace. By incorporating performance evaluation into the education process, educators can create a more dynamic and effective learning environment that not only assesses students' knowledge but also fosters essential skills for lifelong learning.